Alright guys, so this Meek Mill verse is crazy, amazing, and I got something special. So I'm launching a new series called Verse of the Week, where each week we're gonna pick the best verse and break it down on the channel. I want this to be community driven, so you guys are actually gonna pick. So I've created a Discord community where you can submit the best verses of the week. And this isn't just for big artists, any MC can join. My goal is for the community to vote for the best verse each week, and that's what we'll break down on the channel. For this first episode, I had to give it to Meek Mill's feature on Fridayy's new album. The track is titled Proud of Me, and this verse gave me goosebumps. On this track, Meek delivers this energy that's very reminiscent of that raw emotion that we got over a decade ago on his Traumatized track.
When I find a nigga that killed my daddy, know I'm a ride. Hope you hear me, I'ma kill you.
On Traumatized, Meek painted an extremely personal and painful picture where he directly addresses the man who murdered his father, expressing the pain that this caused, and also his desire for revenge. Easily one of his best records. So Fridayy does a really great job of setting the tone for the track with his hook and his verse, where he also reflects on losing some friends to street violence and the pain of losing his father as well.
You can do whatever you want to dream of, what you told me. I lost my soul when I lost my daddy.
This track is going to connect with you if you lost a family member, or especially a father. However, when Meek comes in, he really does this theme justice. He gives us one of his best verses ever.
$100 nightmares turn $1 million dreams.
Right away, Meek makes a powerful statement about how growing up in poverty enabled him to take that exact same pain and channel it into telling his story and becoming a multi-millionaire.
Ride past the block when my dad got left on the scene.
Meek Mill's father was killed when he was just 5 years old during an attempt at robbery, and now Meek finds himself driving past that exact same block in Philly where the tragedy took place. This ties perfectly into the previous line, as his father lost his life over a small sum of money, an amount that is nothing compared to the fortune that Meek would later earn. In fact, Meek has often stated that his father's death was the driving force behind his pursuit to get rich.
Look at your little boy now, we done turned to kings. Shit turned me a grown man, for I was 17.
Meek directly addresses his father, showing him how much he was able to change the course of their story. Forced to grow up quickly, Meek turned his struggles into motivation, proving that he could break the cycle and build a legacy far beyond what was ever imagined. That's why he refers to both himself and his father as having turned into kings.
Had to go and play my own hand, I did this for Nashima and the whole fam.
Meek uses this moment to emphasize that he stepped up as the provider for his family after the loss of his father. Despite being the youngest sibling, he took on the responsibility of ensuring that his loved ones were taken care of, which is exactly what he did, purchasing at least 3 houses for his mother, 1 for his grandmother, and 1 for his sister, Nashima Williams. The reference to playing his hand is also a clever play on a card game, which connects to the idea that life has dealt him a difficult set of circumstances, but he made the right moves to win. This also follows the previous line, being turned into a king.
I got everything, but I just really want to hold hands with my old man on wedding day while we slow dance.
Meek acknowledges that he has achieved financial success, fame, and material wealth, but none of it can replace the presence of his father. It's here where he seems to be speaking in the perspective of his sister, as traditionally a father-daughter dance is a major moment at a wedding. I think he wrote it this way to help show her side of the pain too.
But ain't no love, shot him in his heart, and no chance.
So coming off the line about the wedding, he claims there is no love because his father was shot in the heart, or in other words, the chest. Of course, this plays off the fact that there really is no love in the streets, as violence happens with no remorse. Shooting him in the heart really acts as a metaphor for his father having a bad hand in life and the cold, heartless nature of his murder. Meek is also continuing with the card game theme with the words heart and ain't have no chance. I enjoy breaking down this record because I'm a big fan of Meek.
So I can't sleep, Soniac, bullet holes out the Pontiac. Swear to God, I traded all these riches to get Robbie back.
Meek references his father, Robbie, Robert Parker, and he struggles with sleepless nights, nightmares, and haunting visions of his father's death. However, I believe there is a double entendre at play, as Meek's own name is also Robert. The mention of bullet holes going into the Pontiac could be a direct reference to the violence that Meek witnessed firsthand, further causing him insomnia and trauma. In a way, the line could reflect both his grief of his father's death and also his own personal struggles with things that he's also been through. It's just this unmatched raw energy where, when you think of everything that Meek got in his life, he's saying he'd give all that away just to be with his dad, and I believe him.
Swear to God, I trade in all these foreigns to get Terry back. I'm hanging out with my daddy, lost life, and I'm aware of that.
For this one, I couldn't clearly identify who Terry was in relation to Meek, but I did find an old line from back in 2014 where he mentions both his father and his Aunt Terry in the same line.
Word to Robin and my Aunt Terry.
Then I also found a clip from this interview where he brings up his Aunt Terry again.
My Aunt Terry is the other person on my chain. She lost her life when I was a kid.
Come hanging out with my daddy, lost life, and I'm aware of that.
So Meek's father was killed in South Philly, and soon after his mom moved him and his sister to North Philly where they would get raised. However, as Meek grew older, he found himself going to South Philly to reconnect with his father's side of the family. It was just a year ago where Meek had a tweet where he said the following: "I'm from North Philly. At 16 years old, I went straight to South Philly to try to survive the hood my dad died in. I wanted revenge bad for my mom from seeing her get hurt like that." And none of this is fake. None of it. Like, this is his real life. This is Meek Mill's real story. In this line, Meek is showing his self-awareness. He understands the history of where he is, the dangers that come with it, and the trauma tied to it. He's seeking revenge, but he's also revisiting his own pain instead of running from it. There also seems to be a case of survivor's reflection, where even with all his success, he still finds himself in the same places connected to his own struggles and loss. It's the emotional weight of his past that likely keeps pulling him back. I'm not a psychologist, but I do think there's a reasonable explanation outside of revenge for why why he's gravitating to this place and why he keeps going back.
You had taught me how to fight, and when we got shot, I thought about that shit every night, and got a Glock.
Losing his father at just 5 years old, Meek's memories of his dad are limited, but one thing that he does remember is his father teaching him how to ride a bike and also teaching him how to box. It's an interesting line when you think about it, because one of his clearest memories of his father was him literally teaching him how to fight. Growing up with this memory as he develops into a teenager, this very much ties into the previous line and the overlying theme of wanting revenge for his dad's death. It's insanely deep because his dad taught him how to fight, right? And when you're growing up, you always think like, oh, no one could beat up my dad. My dad's invincible. And then, as a small child, his dad gets killed by a gun. And he's led to say like, oh, like, I don't have one of those. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy deep.
I was hot, but I ain't stopped. I just bought your mama a spot and went in out. She was living PHA, now can't nobody kick us out.
Meek speaks on his personal drive to being successful and references buying his grandmother's house. This was something that was shared on Instagram back in 2021, where in his caption, Meek said, "I did this for my dad and my grandma."
You like your grandma?
I mean, how could you not respect this? I think we all got dreams of doing shit like this, right?
She was living PHA, now can't nobody kick us out.
PHA stands for Philadelphia Housing Authority, which provides public housing for low-income families. Meek's grandmother previously lived in government-assisted housing, where residents typically have limited rights and can sadly get evicted pretty easily. This is like a symbol of, his mission towards generational progress, where she don't need to worry about that anymore because she owns her house.
Scared to show it to your grave, cause I might try to dig it out. Like I did this shit for you.
Honestly, guys, this is one of the best lines of all time with respect to speaking on a lost family member. Meek suggests that visiting his father's grave is so emotionally intense that he feels the urge to bring him back, as if physically digging him up could help undo the past. He's proud of everything that he's accomplished, and it's gut-wrenching for him that he can't physically see his father's reaction or response to it. And that's the thing with writing. Like this line is very simple but extremely powerful, and with the way he delivers it, anyone who lost someone can connect with this. It's gonna hit you. Like it's gonna hit you in your bones. Like it's really powerful.
Never heard you say it back. Still be like I miss you too. And when I catch the nigga that did this to you, he getting sent to you.
Even though his father can't respond, Meek still finds himself saying, "I miss you too," as if he's speaking to him spiritually. It's a raw emotional way of showing that he still seeks that connection, even though it can never be fully reciprocated. You gotta hear it in full too, right? Like after this breakdown, go check it out. It's amazing.
When I catch the nigga that did this to you, he getting sent to you.
So at this point, we're over a decade from Meek's track Traumatized, where he speaks about getting revenge for his father's murder.
You ripped my family apart and made my mama cry. So when I see you, nigga, it's gonna be a homicide.
When Meek dropped Traumatized, he was definitely successful, but he wasn't what he is today. I don't care what anyone says. Meek has had a lot of personal growth over the last decade, but getting revenge for his dad's killer seems to be something that he's still stuck on. I could never relate to this, right? Like I can't pass judgment, but I do understand why he's holding on to it. Like I get it.
Skipping school, daddy did, fuck the principal. She think I'm missing screws when really I'm just missing you.
This is a very powerful statement again, as Meek grew up knowing that his father didn't prioritize school. Now he's acting out and mimicking this behavior, and his father isn't around to tell him to do anything otherwise. His mom is probably going through hell right now, and the principal is none the wiser as she blames Meek's disobedience on mental health issues. This actually happens to a lot of kids who grew up without a parent or during a divorce. Many kids are hit with a diagnosis of a mental illness when really they're just acting out in a way to deal with their own personal struggles. This line actually goes even harder, as Meek claimed that when he went to jail, his own child, who never got in any trouble before, started also acting out. It also shows that he was, holding a lot of this stuff inside. He wasn't talking about what was bothering him, when this whole time it was very much tied to his father. In fact, Meek revealed after this track was released that even his mother had no idea how he really felt about this situation, and that this will be her first time really hearing about it. And that's what makes music so powerful, is he can do it this way.
My homie dad gonna pick us up. I want you to get me too.
This is a really heartbreaking contrast where Meek seeing his friends getting picked up by their dads only amplified his own loss.
I was kinda mad I ain't had one that used to hit me too.
So it's here where Meek expresses a really complicated emotion about growing up without his father. He's reflecting on how even though some of his friends had really strict fathers, even physically abusive fathers, at least they still had a father. DMX was great at this type of writing, where you're not going to think of a line like this. You can't replicate this pain. You can't replicate this writing. You're not going to think of this without having gone through it. You know what I mean?
Nipsey Blue calling in, I'm in the ghost. I think of you, think of bro, I think of Snoop, I think about being make me ooh.
Meek brings up the blue custom Cullinan that Deshaun Jackson purchased in Nipsey's memory. He also thinks of his young prodigy, Lil Snoop, who was also tragically killed, as well as bringing up Lil B, whose real name is Brandon Johnson, someone else Meek posted about before. And it's another way of saying that the money doesn't make it go away. Meek is sitting in a ghost, like a $300,000 car, and he's still thinking about these guys that he's lost. So the money isn't doing shit.
Money rule the world, but you can't pay God with it. I spend it all just to get back my niggas.
Meek ends it off by saying that no matter how much money he makes, the pain of losing all these people will never go away. No matter what he accomplishes, no matter what milestone he hits, these people are gone forever. So amazing verse. That was episode 1 of this series. It might take a bit to get it off the ground, but I do think this could be special for hip hop. Like I said, it doesn't need to be a big artist who submits their verse. Like, I want the community to vote for the best verse. That's all it's about. It's not about who's the bigger artist, none of that shit. Who had the best verse, and then I'll break it down on the channel. I think it'd be a really dope thing if we can get thousands of people voting on this each week to pick the best verse. I think it'd be amazing.
Gave you the plug. Try to be real with some niggas and put on my money and show us some love. You did me a favor, I knew you was shy, I knew you would show you was.